so hello everyone, and welcome to the Franchising On podcast. My name is Kim Sosha, and I am the Senior Franchise Coordinator for Truly Nolan. Of course, I'm joined by my co-host Lance Washington, our Director of Franchising and Acquisitions.
Good morning. Happy to be here. Glad to see you guys. Can't wait to get through this process. And of course, I enjoy spending time with two of my favorites.
Absolutely, and we're excited to have Bryan and Kevin Winter, one of several father-son franchises that we have on board, joining us today. Bryan and Kevin operate the franchise that's based in Knoxville, Tennessee. Welcome to the podcast, guys.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having us. We're glad to be here.
Awesome. So you guys are kind of like the perfect guests for today's topic, which is going to focus on kind of the concept of creating a legacy in your business. And it's something that both Lance and I talked to prospective franchise owners about kind of really early on in that process. We want to make sure that we support whatever the long-term goals and visions of our franchise owners are. And legacy tends to be that really important concept that comes up for a lot of prospective owners. And they're looking at building that generational wealth and something to pass along to their children. So I think a good jumping off point for our conversation today, Bryan, is for us to take a step back and tell us what your journey was like and what drew you to the pest control industry.
Actually, it was a friend of mine. I was delivering uniforms and floor mats for a company in California, and a buddy of mine got a job at Terminex and invited me over to his house and showed me his green suit that he was wearing. And at the time, the jobs we were doing were pretty dirty, and we'd been there a few years and done well, but it was time for a change. So I thought, yeah, that sounds kind of cool. And that's how I started. I started with Terminex as a trainee, sales basically, and enjoyed that. But I enjoyed the actual service part better, so I ended up moving on to a local company and doing the actual service for a route. And that's kind of where it started.
Nice. So what brought you, where did you initially start and what brought you to Knoxville?
Yeah, so I was self-employed. Well, I worked a couple of years there. Decided I needed to be self-employed um, and do my own thing. So I started a company in California and basically just myself, one man operation. Um, I could pick and choose, had a very good route, made good money. Um, everything was going well. And then, as you start getting a little older, you start thinking, well, I'm not gonna be able to do this for another 30 years. So you start thinking about growing and stuff. And we grew a little bit. I grew every year a little bit. Never had any business experience, um, mentors, anything like that. Just kind of winged it. Did fine. And then we moved to Tennessee, kind of a semi-retirement thing, back in 2006, 2007. Tried some different things, flipping houses. The economy crashed, so we just opened up again. Just started a pest control business out of my garage. Started doing fine. Knew I had to keep going, doing this, if we were going to make it. Um, and then I started going to. I've always gone to conferences. I've always looked at franchises, at different shows, and just never had a good feeling. It was hard for me to send my hard-earned money somewhere, instead of keeping that in my pocket. So met Lance and Bill at can't remember if it was Florida. Where what? Pest World, Nashville. There you go.
No, no, no. It was Orlando.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't
It was
remember.
yep. It was Orlando.
Yeah, and I there was another franchise company there that just didn't even give me the time of day, and I always wanted a partner, but not a 50-50 partner, because I'd seen those go bad where two guys work together and a year later they're suing each other. Um, so I never wanted to do that, but I knew I needed to grow this thing to get to the point where I'm not doing the work anymore and I'm managing and I'm doing the working on the business instead of in the business, and I knew it had to take care of us basically, um, for the rest of our life. So that's when I started looking, met you guys. The brand is amazing. I mean, the mouse car in itself, the marketing. I had a good looking truck, but nobody remembered after I drove by 5 minutes later. But I drive by in a mouse car and they remember us. So that's kind of where it started, and now we're it's a generational thing, like you said. We're really trying to build this thing for Kevin and his family and all the other families that work for us. So that's kind of in a nutshell.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
that's awesome insight, Brian. And you kind of tucked me back a little bit with that conversation. I wanted a partner, but not 50-50. I wanted a relationship that was lasting, that really speaks volumes to what you were looking for, but it also speaks volume to our team because we do consider ourselves as partners. Like we have some skin in the game,
Yeah.
and everything is driven by supporting you guys. So I really appreciate that you considered us kind of a partnership. That makes me feel really, really good.
Yeah, it's having that, that company, that mentor basically that can help us with anything that, and our growth has been amazing since I always grew 5%, 10%, but now, we're growing 30%, 40% month after month, things like that. So it's a big difference.
Wow, that's so awesome.
Absolutely.
Uh, what was really funny was what was the name of your pest control company, Brian?
It was Four Seasons Pest Management.
How weird is that you partner with a group like us and your company name was Four Seasons and our primary offering is called Four Seasons Pest Control. It sounds like it was meant to be.
Yeah, Bill McDole loved that. He rode that hard. He's like, "Oh, this is meant to be." Yeah, it
Yeah.
worked out perfect.
Yeah. Absolutely. So tell us, Brian, at what point did you know this was going to be a generational business? Because it isn't that way for some people, right? They're
Yeah,
they
yeah.
want to
I mean,
build
we
it and they
thought
want to sell
about
it.
just growing it, selling the business, retire, that kind of thing. But Kevin started. I've had a lot of my kids work in the business. None of them really stuck. Just wasn't their thing, which is fine. And then Kevin started working. He's been crawling under houses since he was a kid. Um, so he started taking it on, got full time, doing really well. Um, Sales, service, everything. I mean, he's almost meant to take over. It's nice. It's for him to take over, be able to support his family, other families, and just continue to grow this thing where you know
That
he doesn't have to
it's
worry.
so It's so awesome to see the passion, Brian. I guess that's why I'm so inspired. One of my kids decided to become a part of this industry as well, so I know what that looks like. And I've had several conversations with Kevin, and which brings me to this, Kevin. This almost sounds like it was meant to be. You were crawling under houses. Talk us through your inception to the pest control industry, this space, and tell us a little bit about how you feel as you transition from crawling under crawls with your dad as something to do to now being a part of your life and taking care of your family.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I've had crawl space spider webs in my hair since probably 12. Pretty young, and was homeschooled, so I was able to work as a teenager a lot, which was really helpful. And I traveled, I toured with the band for a while, I did other stuff outside of pest control prior to full time. And once I hit 18, I got licensed and started out, full time service. And the big part of it was that not only is it family, and people a lot of times assume that family, you kind of just get put into it and you get into this management position that's great with no work, and that wasn't the case. I mean, there was a lot of hours, lots of time, lots of crawl spaces, lots of just everything, termite, pest, bed bug. I mean, it's been some of the nastiest jobs, but some of the cleanest are the ones I've been on. And there's stuff that even as kids, growing up learning to drill and trench and small stuff that to me now is like it's second nature. I don't think about it, but there's things that happen at the job site that I'm thinking back to when I was 13. It's like, why would I ever think that, education at 13 is going to matter whenever, I'm 22 in the field. And on top of it, I mean, that's a big part. I mean, we all talk about it with when you get new people in office and different places in a pest branch that they don't have the experience, they don't have the route work, they don't know what a termite job's like, and how are you going to follow someone who's never held a pickaxe, who's never dug a trench or been in a crawl space? Like, I'm not following that guy. So at least for us with new hires now, like it's more respectable because I know I've been through it. I've not just been put in this position. Um, but with that, it's been neat. I mean, there's times when I first started that I wasn't sure if it was for me because I mean, just like any job, you're in it. There's a day that sucks and you want to go home and not come back, and that's just a job. But then the next day, things get better, days lighter, whatever it may be. Uh, Customer needs your help, and you can help them with a hornet's nest, keep their kids safe. Different things that are very very positive as a tech and even as a salesman. I mean, kind of like Dad said that he not hated, but would rather be in service than in sales because you're getting to help more, physically help. And in my aspect, which feels different, but our policy, our company, uh, I feel like I'm more helpful in sales because I can get there first and show them this is what we're going to do to fix it, peace of mind, and help them feel better and know we're not taking advantage because, that's a big part. These big companies that take advantage and try to oversell, I'm able to kind of step in and try to help that and not, oversell or make them feel more comfortable.
That's awesome. The impact that it must have having your mentor be not just your mentor in business, but also mentor in life. I mean, having your father as your kind of guiding light in terms of this industry is pretty cool. Um, for me, I'm kind of me and Bryan are cut off the same cloth, right? I was really good in sales, but my forte was and where I executed was the service side. I mean, and I still tend to push towards the service side. The technical side for me just seems to keep me kind of growing. So, but I think the mix that you created is phenomenal, right? You got your dad who can do all of them, who kind of loves that service side, and then you've kind of learned all of those tricks of the trade, and you're the sales side, which really fosters a huge, really sweet culture in your business. And I can guarantee you, if I were an employee, I could see that what you're talking about, not just sitting behind the desk and reading a bunch of books and learning how to do things from the book, but you physically got out there and did it. That's kudos to you and your dad for what you've created. And I can see this business expanding to a point where you guys don't know what to do with it again, but we'll be here for you. By the way, we didn't talk about it, but I do want to bring this up. Multiple time winners, franchise of the year. Is that correct?
Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah, we let somebody else have it last year just because we felt guilty winning every year. So we did let somebody else win, but we might try for it again this year. We're up, I think, in the top three. So
You got to
we'll
keep them on their toes, Brian. You got to keep the others
Right.
on their toes.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that it adds to our ability to create some growth around, and we utilize you guys. We consider you as one of our stronger franchises. We have people coming on board all the time, and the first thing that pops to our head when we're having our conversations in our webinars is we need them to talk to Bryan and Kevin. We need them. I don't care if you currently own a business. I don't care if you've done other things. There's such a wealth of knowledge between you and your son in terms of and your passion for the brand that makes it easy for us to say, talk to Kevin and Bryan. That'll get us over the hurdle.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we feel very blessed where we're at.
So let's talk about adding someone new to leadership, right? It's always a big challenge, especially when you've done it on your own for so long, even inside the family affair concept, right? So, getting to make all those decisions for yourself all the time, and then including somebody new in leadership, especially when it comes to family members, right? That can pose a whole different kind of relational challenge, right? What
Yeah.
were some challenges that you guys encountered early on, or maybe even more recently? And how did you guys find that nice new balance?
Well, we get along well. I wasn't sure how it would be working together. You see a lot of TV and different shows where the families yelling at each other and stuff. We don't get into that. We do have some disagreements and stuff once in a while, but when it comes down to it, I'm the boss until I'm retired. And he's got some good ideas, and I have to learn to listen to that, especially with the new millennials, coming up and the new things going on. So um, it's actually been pretty smooth, I think, compared to what I've seen in different family businesses. Um, I don't know if Kevin, thinks any different, but I mean, we have some differences, and things that I think he should be doing, or even things he thinks I should be doing, and we usually talk about it and try to just move forward.
No, it's all awful. No, I'm kidding. No, it's all good. We do get along really well, and it does make it easier because there's obviously frustrating times when, and for me, I'm learning. I'm young. I'm still learning the industry, but there's a lot that I'm learning that maybe Dad isn't learning, that he isn't paying attention to that side of the industry, or something's changing. I mean, it's always changing. So there are times where I will have something that I think is of importance, but then there's also times where I'm like set in stone. This is it. This is what needs to happen. We need to do it this way. And then Dad's like, well, we tried that before you were in it, and it didn't work, or this happened or whatever. I'm like, okay, and a lot of it's just learning that balance of, just he's been doing it 30 years. That's a big milestone. So just trying to focus on that and realize that it may seem like a good idea, but doesn't mean it, always is.
I think that's a cool dichotomy for you guys. But one of the great things about that is that there's such an age gap, and your dad's been in the business for quite some time, but you also get to see things from another lens. As we start to get older, and Bryan and I are the old people on this video, uh, we have a propensity to see things how they used to be, right? And as we cycle through and make changes, it's good to have that other insight. When I talk to my kids and talk about some of the ways that they do things, it's so different. I mean, Bryan and I back in the day could never think about anything other than maybe a pizza delivery, which was special. And now you can have everything delivered to your house. So it's totally different. And having younger kids helps us understand that things are changing and we may have to look at things differently. So it's great that you guys have a relationship where we can kind of take the blinders down a little bit and see things from different perspectives. You seeing things from your dad's lens, where how it was, things that we've done, and your dad also on the reverse side, seeing it from your lens, is how do people look at the way business is deals with their customers and providing service. The days of electronic stuff. I mean, I remember when I got into business, we didn't even have cell phones, right? We had two-way radios, and you would call on a two-way radio, and you'd have to have a dime, right? It cost a dime to make a phone call. And we'd pull over to the phone booth, Bryan, you remember? And you put
Yep.
the dime in and call the customer. You go back to the office and you had this rotating kind of cup with all your messages because they couldn't communicate everything. So you go in, read all your messages, and you guys got electronic scheduling, Bryan. We used to have appointment books,
Yep.
and you could only write them in pencil. So
I had a
Kim even
whole
remembers
on
those
the
days
route
as well.
card, all your route cards for your
I
whole
remember some
route
of
in
that.
one big book.
Yeah. So, Bryan, what would be some advice that you would have for other individuals who are looking at their business through that legacy lens, or looking to add their first family member? What would you tell them to do?
I mean, just do a lot of research, right? The family thing, it can be sketchy, but if you've got a good relationship, I would go for it as somebody you can trust, right? Um, and as far as the legacy, I mean, this business could go. It's recession proof most of the time. It was COVID proof. We still got to work and do our thing. We actually did better during COVID, than the year before. Um, it's a business that it's always going to be there. The need's always going to be there. Um, and depending on how growth oriented you are, I mean, you could have your whole family and your family's family work for you if you got it big enough and wanted to do it that way. Um, it's a great peace of mind knowing you know that you have this business, recurring revenue. I mean, I'm not a smart guy. I didn't go to college. That's partly why it was so nice to go with you guys to have those mentors. But it's, you know what you're already making every month. It's
Yeah.
very nice that I don't have to wait for people to walk in my door and buy my widget and worry enough people are going to come in. I've already got them, right? It's just about growth and stuff. So it's an amazing business for people, and especially like the one man operations, like I was. If you're out there struggling, uh, it's an awesome way to go. I should have done it 20 years ago with you guys. I imagine if I had done it then, I'd probably be a $10 million business by now.
Wow.
So yeah, but better late than never.
That's right. So, hey, Kevin,
Yeah.
you get the luxury of letting your dad relax and go on vacations and stuff, and you run the $10 million business when it gets to that point. Uh,
Oh yeah,
I can
that's the
tell you right
plan.
now, it was a blessing for our team. And the meeting that we had back in Orlando, uh, and what it's become now, the relationships we have, the conversations that we have, it's more like family than I could ever imagine, and I really appreciate you guys. It's humbling to say the least. It is very humbling. One of our major core values. Again, you guys strike the chord for me. Uh, I'll tell you right now. Number 8 for me with you guys takes it a long way. So thank you again for just allowing us the opportunity to be a part of this ride, this venture. And watching you guys grow and what you do for our brand is amazing.
Well, we appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, that kind of brings us to time today, guys. We want to thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for your insight. Always a pleasure to have you guys talk to us and kind of enlighten us on your story. So thank you so much for joining us.